Total surrender of 2026 to God is not a poetic phrase. It is a spiritual transaction where a man consciously removes himself from the throne of control and hands the governance of his life to the Almighty. Surrender means you no longer negotiate outcomes with fear, anxiety, or pride, but you submit your plans, expectations, timelines, and ambitions to divine authority. When a year is surrendered, it stops responding to chance and starts responding to order. You are not just entering 2026 with hopes, you are entering it with alignment. Many people enter a new year with resolutions, but surrender is higher than resolution because resolution depends on human strength, while surrender rests on divine grace. To surrender a year is to acknowledge that God sees what you cannot see. It is to accept that His wisdom outruns your experience and His timing outlives your urgency. When you surrender, you stop forcing doors that God never ordained for you to enter. You stop competing with people you were never meant to outrun. You stop carrying burdens that were never assigned to your strength. Surrender brings rest, not because challenges disappear, but because you are no longer the one carrying the weight of outcomes. You become a steward of obedience, not a slave to results. Total surrender requires trust, and trust is proven when obedience is costly. It is easy to surrender when things are working, but real surrender is revealed when God's instructions challenge your logic. In surrender, you give God permission to interrupt your plans, rearrange your priorities, and redefine success. You accept that delay is not denial, and that silence is not absence. You learn to wait without frustration and to move without confusion because your confidence is no longer rooted in certainty, but in relationship. When a year is surrendered, your decisions become prayerful, not impulsive. You ask before you act. You listen before you speak. You discern before you commit. Surrender teaches you restraint, and restraint preserves destiny. Many destinies collapse, not because of demonic attacks, but because of unsurrendered appetites. In surrender, you allow God to discipline your desires, so your future is not destroyed by what you wanted too early or too badly. Surrender also means yielding your identity to God. You stop defining yourself by titles, achievements, or opinions. You allow God to tell you who you are and where you belong. This frees you from comparison and the pressure to impress. A surrendered year is a year where approval no longer controls your decisions. You are led by conviction, not applause. You become comfortable being hidden when God wants to build you and visible only when He wants to reveal you. To surrender 2026 is to consecrate your time. Your mornings are no longer rushed, they are offered. Your nights are no longer empty, they are reflective. You begin to see time as a sacred resource, not something to waste or rush through. You become intentional with relationships, assignments, and moments because you understand that God speaks through seasons, and every season has an instruction attached to it. Surrendering the year also means trusting God with uncertainty. You may not know where you will be in 6 months, but you know who holds the map. This removes panic from planning. You still plan, but you plan with humility. You work, but you work with dependence. You dream, but you dream with submission. Surrender does not cancel ambition, it purifies it. It ensures that your success does not cost you your soul or your peace. In total surrender, prayer stops being a ritual and becomes a lifeline. You no longer pray only when things go wrong. You pray because you understand that intimacy sustains clarity. God becomes your first response, not your last option. You develop spiritual sensitivity, recognizing when to speak, when to be silent, when to move, and when to stay. This sensitivity protects you from unnecessary battles and preserves your energy for assignments that truly matter. A surrendered year is also a year of divine alignment. God begins to position people, opportunities, and resources according to His will. You notice that certain doors close without effort and others open without struggle. You are no longer offended by closed doors because you trust the one who closed them. You begin to see that protection sometimes comes disguised as disappointment and that mercy often looks like delay. Surrender requires consistency, not emotion. It is not a one-time prayer at the beginning of the year, but a daily posture of the heart. Every day you choose to yield again, to trust again, to obey again. Some days will require more surrender than others, especially when outcomes do not match expectations. But each act of surrender deepens your dependence and sharpens your discernment. When you surrender 2026, you are telling God that you are available. Available to learn, to unlearn, to be corrected, to be refined. You are telling Him that you value transformation over comfort and purpose over popularity. This availability attracts divine involvement. God does not force Himself into lives that insist on control, but He fully partners with those who yield. Total surrender prepares you for favor, because favor rests on alignment. It prepares you for protection, because obedience positions you under divine covering. It prepares you for growth, because humility invites grace. As you surrender the year, you may not control every outcome, but you will walk with confidence, knowing that your steps are ordered, your battles are authorized, and your victories are intentional. Walking into each day with a heart that says, Lord, lead me, shape me, use me, and let this year reflect your will in my thoughts, my actions, my decisions, my relationships, my work, my worship, and my obedience as I continue to lay everything before you without reservation or negotiation, trusting that your plans for me in 2026 are higher than my fears, stronger than my doubts. Divine protection and guidance are not abstract spiritual concepts. They are practical realities that determine the quality and preservation of a life. Protection is not merely the absence of trouble. It is the presence of God's oversight in the midst of a world filled with uncertainty. When God protects a man, He does not always remove storms, but He regulates their impact. Guidance, on the other hand, is the intelligence of heaven supplied to a mortal, so that his steps are ordered beyond guesswork. Without divine guidance, effort becomes wasteful and strength is spent in the wrong direction. Many people assume protection is automatic, but scripture and spiritual law reveal that protection responds to alignment. A life that is yielded to God comes under His covering. This covering preserves not only the body but also the mind, decisions, relationships, and future. There are dangers you will never know you escaped because God redirected you without explanation. There are conversations you were not part of, journeys you never took, and decisions you never made, not because you were smart, but because divine protection intervened silently. Divine protection is deeply connected to obedience. God does not guard rebellion, and He does not sponsor disobedience. When a man walks in the fear of the Lord, he walks within the jurisdiction of divine security. This fear is not terror, but reverence, a conscious awareness that God's instructions are superior to personal opinions. In this posture, protection becomes consistent because the individual is positioned where God can defend without violating his own principles. Guidance is the compass that prevents unnecessary battles. Many battles are not spiritual attacks, but consequences of unguided choices. When God guides a person, He saves them from emotional decisions, rushed commitments, and destructive alignments. Guidance trains you to discern timing, because even the right thing at the wrong time can become wrong. Through divine guidance, God teaches patience, showing you when to wait and when to move, when to speak and when to remain silent. Divine guidance often comes quietly. It is rarely dramatic, yet it is precise. It may come as a gentle conviction, an inner restraint, a repeated impression, or godly counsel that confirms what the Spirit is already saying. Those who value guidance learn to slow down internally, even when life demands speed externally. They understand that haste is not productivity, and that clarity is more valuable than urgency. Protection also involves separation. God protects by disconnecting you from environments, habits, and relationships that expose you to unnecessary harm. Sometimes protection feels like a loss because God removes what you have grown attached to. Yet in that separation, He is preserving your destiny. A guided life learns to trust God even when instructions do not make emotional sense, understanding that foresight belongs to God alone. Divine protection is not limited to physical safety. It includes mental and emotional preservation. Many people are alive physically, but damaged internally due to lack of guidance. When God guides your thoughts, He protects you from anxiety, bitterness, pride, and deception. He teaches you how to process pain without becoming poisoned by it. This internal protection is critical because a broken mind can sabotage a protected body. Guidance also preserves resources. Time, energy, finances, and opportunities are protected when God directs your decisions. You avoid investments that drain you and commitments that overextend you. You learn the discipline of saying no without guilt because you recognize that every yes carries a cost. God's guidance trains you to prioritize purpose over pressure and obedience over convenience. Those who enjoy divine protection understand the power of spiritual sensitivity. They learn to read spiritual atmospheres, to discern when something is wrong, even if it looks right. This sensitivity is developed through prayer, the Word, and consistent fellowship with the Holy Spirit. When sensitivity is lost, danger increases, but when it is sharpened, protection becomes almost instinctive. Divine guidance also involves correction. God does not only lead forward, sometimes He leads backward to realign you. He may instruct you to pause, to revisit a lesson, or to repair a foundation before proceeding. This is not delay but mercy. Correction is proof of sonship, and protection is often hidden within rebuke. A guided person does not despise correction because they understand that instruction is cheaper than destruction. Protection works best when pride is absent. Pride exposes a man by making him feel self-sufficient. When humility is present, guidance flows easily because the heart is teachable. God resists the proud, not because He hates them, but because pride blocks reception. A humble heart hears clearly, adjusts quickly, and stays within divine boundaries. Guidance ensures that your success does not outrun your character. Many people are protected from elevation because without guidance, elevation would destroy them. God guides gradually, building capacity alongside progress. This is why some prayers seem unanswered. God is guiding the person, not ignoring them. Protection sometimes means withholding what you want until you are ready to sustain it. Divine protection also operates through patterns and principles. God teaches you how to live wisely, how to choose peace over conflict, how to avoid unnecessary exposure. This wisdom becomes a shield that prevents repeated mistakes. You begin to notice cycles breaking, not because the enemy disappeared, but because guidance interrupted the pattern. Guidance brings confidence without arrogance. You walk boldly because you are led, not because you assume. You are not afraid of the future because you are not walking alone. Even when clarity is partial, you trust the direction you have received. This trust removes fear and replaces it with quiet assurance. When God protects and guides a person, their life becomes a testimony of preservation. They may face challenges, but they are not wasted by them. They may encounter opposition, but they are not defeated by it. Every step is watched, every move is weighed, every season is supervised by divine intelligence, leading them through paths they could not have discovered on their own, keeping them from traps they never saw. aligning them with help they did not plan for, sustaining them through transitions they did not anticipate, and walking with them through days of uncertainty with a presence that assures them they are not exposed, not abandoned, not confused, but kept, directed, and covered as long as they remain yielded, attentive, and responsive to the voice that leads them step by step into the unfolding will of God. Walking in favor and open doors is not a product of luck or human manipulation. It is the outcome of alignment with divine purpose and timing. Favor is the invisible hand of God influencing outcomes in your direction beyond your qualifications or effort. It is when help finds you without struggle and access is granted without persuasion. Open doors represent opportunities that God authorizes, entrances into seasons, platforms, and dimensions that no human can force open or shut once God has spoken. Favor begins with relationship before it manifests as results. Those who walk in favor prioritize intimacy with God over visibility before men. Favor is attracted to humility, obedience, and a heart that seeks God's will above personal gain. When God favors a person, He does not only bless them for themselves, He positions them as channels through which His purposes are revealed. This is why favor carries responsibility. It demands stewardship, integrity, and reverence. Open doors are rarely random. They are often answers to silent prayers, results of unseen preparation, and rewards for consistency when no one was watching. God opens doors when character and capacity are aligned with opportunity. Many doors remain closed not as punishment but as protection, because premature access can damage destiny. Favor ensures that when a door opens, you are not crushed by what you prayed for. Walking in favor requires discernment because not every open door is from God. Some doors are distractions designed to pull you away from assignment. Divine favor comes with peace, clarity, and alignment, not confusion and compromise. A favored person learns to consult God before stepping through opportunities, understanding that timing determines impact. Even a God-given door can become a burden if entered too early or without instruction. Favor often speaks through people. God raises helpers, advocates, and connectors who use their influence to create access you could never negotiate. These relationships are not accidental, they are orchestrated. However, favor does not excuse dishonor. Those who walk in favor understand the value of gratitude, loyalty, and humility. They do not exploit access, they honor it. Favor increases when honor is sustained. Open doors also require courage. God may open a door that challenges your comfort, stretches your faith, and demands growth. Walking in favor does not mean the absence of fear. It means the presence of confidence in God's backing. You move forward not because you feel ready, but because you trust the one who opened the door. This trust activates grace for performance beyond your natural ability. Favor distinguishes without isolating. It sets you apart without making you proud. When God's favor rests upon a person, they shine without competing and rise without fighting. Their progress may provoke misunderstanding, but favor also supplies defense. God shields the favored from unnecessary battles and teaches them when to speak and when to remain silent. Favor does not remove opposition, but it ensures that opposition does not prevail. Walking in favor requires purity of motive. God does not open doors for ego, but for impact. When ambition is purified, favor flows freely. This is why seasons of obscurity are important. They refine motives and deepen dependence on God. Those who despise hidden seasons often misuse public platforms. Favor is sustained when the heart remains submitted even after doors open. Open doors bring increased accountability. With greater access comes greater responsibility. God watches how you handle opportunities, how you treat people, and how you represent Him. Favor is not permanent by default, it is maintained through obedience. Disobedience can close doors that favor opened. This is why walking in favor demands spiritual discipline, consistent prayer, and alignment with God's word. Favor also accelerates processes. What would take others years may happen for you in months, not because you are better, but because God is intentional. This acceleration should not produce pride but gratitude. A favored person recognizes that speed is a gift, not a guarantee. They remain teachable, knowing that sustainability matters more than speed. Walking in favor does not mean avoiding effort. Favor works with diligence, not laziness. God opens doors, but you must walk through them prepared. Favor creates access, but excellence sustains relevance. Those who understand favor develop skill, discipline, and wisdom to match the opportunities they receive. They do not rely on grace as an excuse for mediocrity. Open doors often lead to unfamiliar territory. Favor will introduce you to environments that demand new levels of maturity. God stretches your thinking, refines your communication, and expands your capacity. Some are progressive, unfolding in stages. God may give you a glimpse before granting full access. This keeps you hopeful without making you careless. Favor teaches you how to wait without frustration and how to prepare without pressure. Favor protects reputation. God speaks on your behalf in rooms you are not present in. He corrects narratives and defends your name when you cannot. This protection does not mean everyone will like you, but it ensures that false accusations do not destroy your assignment. A favored person learns to trust God with their image and focus on obedience. Open doors align you with purpose. They connect your gifts to needs, your calling to platforms, and your passion to impact. Favor ensures that your work is not wasted and your labor is not in vain. Even setbacks become redirections and delays become setups for better access. Walking in favor is ultimately about divine partnership. You move with an awareness that God is involved in your journey. You acknowledge Him in decisions, celebrate Him in success, and depend on Him in challenges. Favor does not make you independent, it makes you deeply reliant. Every open door becomes an altar of gratitude, every opportunity a responsibility to reflect God's glory, every season a reminder that advancement comes not by might or power, but by the Spirit at work, guiding steps, influencing outcomes, opening gates no man can shut, lifting beyond limitations, sustaining through transitions, and continually positioning the one who walks humbly before God to experience excess, increase, and progress according to divine design. Alignment with purpose and destiny is the process by which a life comes into agreement with God's original design. Purpose is not what you choose for yourself. It is what you discover through obedience and intimacy with God. Destiny is the unfolding of that purpose across time, shaped by choices, seasons, and divine orchestration. When alignment is absent, effort becomes exhausting and progress feels empty. But when alignment is present, even difficult paths carry meaning and direction. Many people are busy but not aligned. Activity without alignment leads to frustration because the soul knows when it is misplaced. Alignment brings internal peace even when external conditions are challenging. It is the quiet assurance that you are where you are supposed to be, doing what you were created to do at the time God has ordained. This assurance cannot be manufactured. It is the result of submission and sensitivity to divine leading. Alignment begins with surrender. You cannot align with purpose while insisting on control. God reveals destiny to those who are willing to obey step by step. Rarely does He unveil the full picture at once. He guides progressively, testing faithfulness in small instructions before revealing larger assignments. This protects the individual from pride and preserves dependency on God rather than confidence in self. Purpose is often hidden in ordinary assignments. Many expect destiny to appear dramatic, but God frequently wraps calling in routine. Faithfulness in small responsibilities is how God measures readiness for greater influence. Alignment teaches you to honor where you are, knowing that location does not determine significance. When you are aligned, even obscurity becomes preparation rather than punishment. Alignment also requires discernment between ambition and assignment. Ambition seeks recognition, assignment seeks obedience. Ambition asks, "What do I want to do?" while assignment asks, "What has God instructed me to do?" When ambition leads, destiny is delayed. When assignment leads, destiny unfolds naturally, without striving. Alignment trains the heart to value obedience over applause and impact over image. Destiny is shaped by choices. God provides direction, but humans provide response. Alignment does not remove responsibility, it increases it. Every decision either moves you closer to purpose or pulls you away from it. This is why guidance is critical. Small compromises may seem harmless, but over time they distort direction. Alignment demands integrity in private decisions, not just public actions. Alignment with destiny often requires separation. God may distance you from people, environments, or patterns that no longer serve your assignment. This separation can feel painful, but it is necessary. You cannot carry new wine in old wineskins. Destiny requires space to grow, and God creates that space by pruning what competes with purpose. Purpose is not static, it unfolds in phases. Alignment in one season may look different in another. What God required yesterday may not be what He requires tomorrow. This is why sensitivity matters. Those who cling to past instructions without seeking current direction risk stagnation. Alignment is maintained by continual listening and willingness to adjust. Destiny also involves preparation. God does not rush His process because character must grow alongside calling. Skills, discipline, and wisdom are developed over time. Alignment ensures that preparation is not wasted. Every lesson, delay, and challenge contributes to capacity. When the moment of manifestation arrives, the person is not only gifted but grounded. Alignment protects you from comparison. When you know your assignment, you are not threatened by another person's progress. You understand that different callings have different timelines. Comparison is a sign of misalignment because it shifts focus from obedience to competition. Alignment restores focus, allowing you to celebrate others without abandoning your own path. Purpose-driven lives attract resistance, but alignment provides resilience. When challenges arise, you are not easily shaken because you are convinced of your calling. This conviction does not eliminate doubt entirely, but it gives you strength to continue despite uncertainty. You endure because you know that your journey is intentional, not accidental. Alignment also influences relationships. God connects you with people who sharpen, support, and stretch you. These relationships may not always be comfortable, but they are purposeful. Destiny helpers are often sent to correct as much as they encourage. Alignment teaches you to receive instruction without offense and correction without resentment. When aligned, prayer becomes clearer. You no longer pray vague prayers, you pray with understanding. Your requests align with God's will and your expectations mature. You begin to recognize doors that align with destiny and resist opportunities that distract from it. This clarity saves time, energy, and emotional investment. Alignment with destiny requires patience. Some promises take time to manifest, not because God is slow, but because preparation is ongoing. Impatience leads people to force outcomes, often creating detours that delay fulfillment. Alignment teaches waiting without complaining and trusting without seeing immediate results. Purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. When you understand why you are doing what you are doing, endurance becomes possible. Alignment allows you to endure seasons of difficulty without losing hope because you see beyond the moment. You recognize that pain is not always punishment, sometimes it is training. Destiny is ultimately fulfilled through partnership with God. He provides direction, strength, and grace, but He honors human cooperation. Alignment keeps the heart soft, the spirit attentive, and the will yielded. It produces a life that moves with intention rather than confusion, clarity rather than chaos, and conviction rather than pressure, walking daily with an awareness that each step matters, each decision counts, and each season is part of a larger divine narrative being written through obedience, faithfulness, humility, and continued submission to the will of God. As purpose unfolds progressively through time and destiny advances according to divine order, rather than human urgency,